Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Bible Pod. We have our second guest, Nick Kozak, another basketball junkie. Go way back with talking ball with him back in high school when I was guaranteeing to him in gym class that the Celtics were going to get Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler. And here we are, about 6 years later. He's a diehard Cleveland Cavalier fan. We're going to talk about them. Rich is going to go on his rant about the Knicks. We're going to give you some sleeper teams for the second half, of course, per usual. And I don't blame you for doing that after last night's loss, which was, I had it on in the background of the Celtic game. It was pretty unbelievable, but I must say it was pretty predictable.
I was telling Nick before we started recording, I was trying to find a brown paper bag that I can cut holes in, but I couldn't find one.
Yeah, that was just absolutely brutal. I mean,
it's like the third time this week they did it too.
Yeah, we were talking prior to the start, but I wasn't really tuning into the game, but I remember checking my phone, just getting little updates here and there. They're up 28 points. And I was like, Knicks got in the bag. They'll be fine. Then all of a sudden, my phone's blowing up saying that they blew the lead. And then to watch Cam Thomas just pull a 30-footer, just absolutely ice in his veins, cold, step back, just absolutely bury that shot. I was like, wow.
21 a game in his last 7.
And it's just the Knicks, unfortunately. It's just the reputation.
Okay. Rob, you can continue your intro. I'm too. No, I'm kidding. I'm just.
What surprised me was well, first of all, we know how net fans are, and they were. I mean, I guess it is.
They don't exist.
I was surprised that there was a bit of an army of them there, and there was tweets of them with the chants and stuff. But it is New York anyway, so
they took off their Knicks jerseys and put on net jerseys.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
They kind of once Kyrie and KD came, they got a couple of people on the bandwagon there, but for the most part, it's you still got the people who think they're in New Jersey. You still it's just.
All right, so we're going to talk a little Cavs. Probably arguably the best story in the league this year. A lot of people expected lottery or close to playing, something like that. Garland. What were you going to say?
No, yeah. So, coming into the year, to be completely honest with you, I mean, I liked the assets that we have. I liked what JB Bickerstaff was doing. I thought we were building the roster, and I thought maybe back end of the lottery, but at that point you kind of would have you rather a top 5 pick at that point. But I was not expecting this, and especially the makeup of our roster. I remember when we got Lauri Markkanen, I said to myself, what are we doing? What is the plan? What's the lineup going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're throwing out 3 7-footers and one starting at the 3, and I'm like, whoa. And then it's starting to work, and I'm like, this is crazy. And it just, I'm sure we'll get into all that other stuff in terms of Darius coming into his own and just Evan Mobley's impact and all that stuff. But it's been a good year, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, arguably the best story. I was listening to Garland on Draymond Green's pod about a week ago, and he has high hopes himself. He had all this confidence coming into the season. And Draymond was saying after they got Karras, which we'll talk about, I have written down, he said, Cavs Warriors rematch in the finals. And he believes they are one of the best teams in the league, and they've certainly been playing like it. But they're 19-11 in their last 30, about the 10th best record in that span. They're middle of the pack in scoring, about 107 points per game, 4th in defensive rating as of today. What's been your favorite part thus far? What do you think makes you smile?
I think I think my favorite part, honestly, is just like when I'm watching the games, and my favorite part about this team is, and it's kind of just completely different from most other NBA teams, is we don't have any egos. You don't have any egos holding anyone back, which is what I think is allowing kind of everyone to excel in their role. And it's just like it's not always just one person going crazy. It's a lot of people. Like there's been multiple times throughout the year where multiple guys have been in double figures and we're winning games. Like Darius is going to have his moments. Evan Mobley is going to have his moments. Jared Allen has his moments. But just the way they kind of play together, and JB Bickerstaff has kind of been able to just be a good leader of men and be able to just kind of get them through and be able to just establish a good culture and just continue to build upon what they already have so far. I mean, it's been great to watch. I mean, the thing that I think is going to end up being the deciding factor is like when we go against like the top-notch stars, like in our past two games, we played Philly and Atlanta, and Joel gave us problems. Trae Young gave us problems. I don't know necessarily like Isaac Okoro is going to step up and probably have to guard their best like offensive wing or guard, and then obviously it's going to be on Jared Allen or Evan Mobley to hold down the fort in the paint if we're playing guys like Joel Embiid, Giannis, depending on who we get matched up with. But I'm just kind of they also just seem like we have nothing to lose. Like I mean, it's already at this point like we're shocking the world, and I'm excited to see just kind of how the rest of the year progresses. But I can sit here at the end of the day and watch every game and see the development of these guys, and that's really been my favorite part.
Yeah, the question I would have for you is when you hear people say the word super team, and I don't know if this was a real quote or a fake quote when Adam Silver said the Cavs are building a super team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was a real quote or a fake quote, but regardless if it's real or fake, it's something to think about. Like Jared Allen is arguably the Cavs basically won the James Harden trade.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Jared Allen is on the Cavs and they got Karis LeVert. So
Yeah.
for an injured Rondo, who's probably going to come back next year, and if not, Rondo Rubio. He's probably going to come back next year, maybe. And Karis LeVert's a fine player. We talked about that last week, and I think it's crazy to me how like they're not a super team, but if you look at the roster, they're kind of loaded. So what do you think about that term super team? Or do you just think of them as like a well-balanced roster?
In my opinion, honestly, I just think we are a well-balanced roster. I think, our guys are producing. I mean, Darius is coming into his own. I think he's not necessarily a quote-unquote superstar yet, but he's getting there. I think Jared Allen is like in the most ideal spot for what he is and what his role is. And I think it's helping the development of Evan Mobley even more. And one of the things I kind of have thought about coming into the year and just kind of watching some of the early on games is, and obviously this is a drastic comparison, but it's kind of similar to when Tim Duncan came into the league and he had David Robinson to kind of lean on, and there wasn't a lot of pressure to really be successful, but he just ended up finding his own way and being great. And I think having Jared Allen there and having Jared Allen take some of the load off of Evan Mobley versus if he wasn't there has helped Evan's development tremendously. And I love to watch those two play together. I mean, their length is just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, trying to get a shot up at the rim, it's going to be tough. And they're just matchup nightmares on the defensive end every night. But going back to the whole super team thing is I think inevitably we are maybe one piece away. And I love the acquisition of Karis LeVert. We won that deal. Like it wasn't even close. We fleeced them, it felt like. And the Pacers were kind of just giving up at that point, and that was the start to them just cleaning the house. But to get a guy who's a solid wing scorer and gives us some more length as a wing defender, I think is going to help us significantly in the long run.
Yeah, and he kind of fills the sheet as well. Something, probably my favorite part of the Draymond pod was that he brought up to Darius how, their style with the double big, and how Darius brought up how they'll feed off each other, whether it's lobs or whatever, and they're so fun playing with each other, like unselfishly. And Draymond was like, if you guys were to make a big run, I wonder if that will do what the Warriors did, and say, like, I think I might have brought this up to you, Rich. People will be like, oh, let's go double bigs, and like, let's
copycat league.
Yeah, let's run that style and try to build a team like that. And yeah, that would be pretty cool if that was to happen. And they really can be super scary. Another thing that was my favorite thing is, you might have saw this quote, Nick, but Darius was talking about Rondo, and he was like, my favorite thing about Doe is that, like, the second day he was there, and I've heard this about, I think I've told you he's my favorite player ever, but I've heard him say this, or people say this, that he does this specific thing with other young people like Trae Young, Bobby Portis, other young guys who he's been around. They feed off his mind. And the second day he was there, he was like, he just called Darius in the back of the bus or plane, wherever, and he was like, yo, come here, and just showed him film. And Darius was like, that made what was I going to say? That meant so much to him, because no one had ever done that in his career. Like, he never had a vet to just teach him that much knowledge and show that much care for his style of play and what he does. Although we know how Love is and how great of a vet he is, after that cry that he had last year, things kind of turned around for him. And we see, obviously, he's having a solid year himself. And he'll have games where he explodes for like 7 threes, and he's still a rebounding machine. And you know how effective he is, especially with the LeBron days, with that outlet pass. Like, he perfects it to a T. And those are just two great vets to have in general. And, I mean, you kind of touched on them already, but like, my next question was going to be like, what is your opinion on Bickerstaff, knowing that like he didn't have much head coaching experience in general?
So coming into it, I mean, during the whole Beeline fiasco, I mean, I was just kind of like, all right, this guy's going to just kind of fill the role, and we'll get through the season and we'll see what happens. And then it's just, you notice that, like, guys are buying into what, like, he's saying. Guys are playing for him, and that means a whole lot. And I feel like in this league, more so than other leagues, it's a lot of older guys being able to just kind of like, whether it's the Popoviches or the Spoelstras, or like, they command respect, and they kind of show you just kind of the way they want things. Obviously, they have their whole scheme and their strategy and their game plan and their views and all that stuff, but they just have an inept ability to get dudes to buy in, and that's something I noticed immediately. And it's even like coming to a forefront this year in terms of them actually turning into wins rather than just scrappy losses. And I remember last season there was a lot of times where we had a lot of close losses, and don't get me wrong, sometimes we get blown off the floor. But like, I remember specifically watching, we played the Nets. I think it was one of the first games after they got Harden initially, and Colin Sexton just went absolutely crazy. And just to see the
I remember
energy,
that game,
the energy that they brought that night, and I was like, this can be something special. And I love the job that he's done. And while I was skeptical about the hire at first, I mean, it couldn't have turned out any better. And I don't think there was any other guy that would be as good as a fit as JB's been.
My next question is, I have 2 questions actually.
Yeah.
One, what was the specific moment or game that you figured out this year that this team is legit? And second question, this might be a little more lengthy. What made you become a Cavs fan? Because it's off the grid a little bit. So
Yeah. I think the game that made me realize that this was legit, and I think it was when we played the Bucks, and we handed it to the Bucks, and like in all phases, and to just kind of see them go against the defending champions and give them like the absolute like possible, like they were just hands down the better team. And I said to myself, I said, whoa, like this is for real. And part of me still, I tell myself, I'm like, I don't know, like, is it serious? Like, how's it going to be in the playoffs? Like, what's going to happen? But that kind of gave me the moment to think, like, they can beat any single team in the NBA on any given night, and that they have a chance. And you can't really say that about half the teams in the league. But I'll be interested to see kind of how we come off of All-Star break and see what seed we end up and see what the sort of matchups are. But I think we're going to give people a run for their money, and I'm telling you, people aren't going to want to play us in 7 games. Like, it's not an easy task, and Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is going to be rocking, and Cleveland's going to show out, and it's going to be a tough place to play come playoff time. But to answer your second question, so the way I became a Cavs fan, so I'm not going to lie to you, when I first started watching basketball, probably 05, 06, everything I saw, every poster that I had, it was LeBron. LeBron was everything for me as a kid, and I gravitated towards that, and I began to get into more and more of their games, and I kind of was there towards the end of the first LeBron era. We lost to the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then the following year, got buried by the Celtics, and that was it. That was it. And I'll never forget the day of the decision. I was in shock. I said, this guy really went on national television to tell everyone that he was leaving. And I had right away, I said, I hate this guy. This guy's dead to me. Like, I never want any part of him again. And I remember the day after I said, I have to get a new Cavs jersey. I said, I don't like LeBron's the only thing I've ever known. So I go online and I buy a Mo Williams Cavs jersey. And couple months passed by, and I remember I wore my jersey to school, and I was like in 7th grade, and I was like super hyped up. He got the new jersey, whatever. And the next day he got traded to the Jazz. And this was before they did the whole American Express, like, refund you for if your guy gets traded type thing. So I was like pissed. I was like, Mom, he got traded. But then to kind of go through all those years of like, oh my God, I can name guys all the JJ Hickson, Christian Iyenga, Alonzo G, Jamario Moon, Boobie Gibson, like, to go through the years with all those guys.
I don't know half the guys you just named.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. To go through the years of those guys and kind of go through it and just kind of be humbled a little bit. And especially early on, being like a younger kid and you don't necessarily like, as you get older, it hits more home, like when your team's losing or your team's winning. But as a kid, it doesn't really like necessarily affect your mindset. But to kind of just be able to go through that, and then the year we got Kyrie in the draft, and me being a Duke fan, that was like a perfect mix, obviously. And then just kind of go through the whole draft process year after year, and then build what would ultimately result in LeBron coming back. And I was more open to it as the years went on. I kind of just forgave him at that point, and I kind of I said, you know what? At the end of the day, if he's going to come to the Cavs, I mean, we're going to have a shot to win the championship. And the day he came back, I mean, it was awesome. Like it was just absolutely, it was a game changer. And then we made the deal for Kevin Love, and it was kind of like, I was like, all right, like we're making a run at it. And 2016 was, I mean, by far my favorite year as a sport fan, obviously as a Cavs fan.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of go through that magical run and the ups and downs of just the finals itself. I mean, being down 3-1, I said, it's over. Like, how are we gonna win 4 games in a row, like, or 3 games in a row, whatever. I said, I just, this team's like, I don't know how we're going to do it. And just kind of see game by game to just see the just progression of, okay, we won 1. All right, maybe there's a chance. Okay, we won 2. Like, and to get all the way to game 7, the roller coaster ride that was, and it still gives me chills to this day and to this moment to just picture the moments in that game. The LeBron block is just going to be iconic and for the rest of my life. And I think Kyrie's shot to this point, LeBron's always going to get credit for that block, and it's quote unquote game saving block, and there was an electric moment. But Kyrie's shot, just the in and out crossover fadeaway over Steph, like it was. Oh man, I can't even like use words to describe like what went through my mind. And I remember I was sitting down watching the game, and the buzzer finally went off, and I just literally ran down the street. I ran down the street just going absolutely crazy. I said, I can't believe this just happened. And
Mike Breen call.
Yeah, like it's all that stuff put together. I mean, it was an unbelievable run, and I mean, it's something I'm never going to forget. And it's been a wild ride, and to get to this point where we're at again, and I'm kind of happy the way it's come together. I mean, LeBron left, and it was inevitable at that point. He fulfilled his promise. He brought a championship to Cleveland, and I get it. The second time is completely expected for me, to be honest, and it's just kind of rebuilding. And I think we're almost there, and hopefully we can get back to the finals, but we'll see.
Yeah. Rumor has it that was the last shot Kyrie took.
I like that one.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
Well,
yeah,
first
man.
of all,
Go ahead.
no, come on, you're good.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, that whole situation's just crazy. Adam Silver coming out and saying that it doesn't make sense. Which, I mean, the more I think about it, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, regardless of what you believe, vaccination or no vaccination, if one guy can't play for the home team, why are guys from the away team able to play? Like, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. But go ahead.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like Justin Holiday coming into Brooklyn and being able to play for the Kings the other night.
Yeah.
But I was going to say you deserve all the respect in the world, because I literally remember, I think middle school, you were in 7th grade, I was in 6th grade, we had gym together. We always had gym together. But you said
Good time.
It was when LeBron – first of all, you remember how anti-LeBron I was, but my respect grew through the Isaiah Thomas days through – and I was rooting for Golden State that series, as you know, because they would always beat us.
Yeah.
You guys would always beat us, and I wasn't the type to be like, all right, you beat my team, so I want to prove that we lost to the champion. I was like, all right, if you beat my team, I want you to lose. But my respect grew and grew, and he arguably is the best ever. I still think he's number 2, but I got him in 2 fantasy leagues this year. He's literally been unbelievable, and we saw not just that run, but 2018, that 50-point game through the JR stuff. And yeah, so I remember you saying in middle school, you were like, just wait till we get Kyrie Irving with the #1 pick. And yeah, like through it all, you've just been the truest of fans. And Kobe Altman deserves all the respect in the world too.
100%.
All the credit.
You figured out his name, so now you're gonna say him on every episode, aren't you?
I literally just thought about it. There's plenty.
I was actually I was listening to that episode last night, and I heard you say, or last week's episode, and I heard you say his name, and I was like, oh gosh. But to kind of be able to pick, like, because David Griffin did a tremendous job
he's
with
good.
the organization, and him moving on to New Orleans, and then Kobe Altman being able to take over the reins and be able to make the moves that he's done. He's drafted extremely well. And our acquisitions to this point have been great. So,
Yeah.
And like, I remember even drafting Darius the year after we drafted Colin, I was skeptical at first because Darius barely played his freshman year at Vandy. He, I believe, tore his Achilles, and he played like 4 games. But watching the guy's film for 4 games, I mean, you said this guy can score. This guy can flat out ball. But, I mean, who knows? That was also 4 games. So there was a lot of unknowns. So props to our scouting department. Props to Kobe Altman. But, I mean, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. What's
No,
up,
go
Rob?
on.
I was gonna say,
on.
Rob, if I actually forgot about this, but we can hit on it a little bit. Speaking of David Griffin, New Orleans, Zion, he might need a second surgery on his foot. He's going to be Greg Oden. I mean, we keep waiting for this guy.
The thing that hurts the most is, especially being a Duke guy too, I mean, watching him in college, it was like I hadn't seen anything like that. And I didn't even, like, let's be honest, like, I didn't watch LeBron in high school. Like, I was a child. Like, I had no idea what the whole thing was going on. But, like, to me, this is what I imagined LeBron looked like in high school. And from seeing Zion go from high school to the transition to college, and to see him just kind of like, he was a superstar in college, and you don't see that a lot, like, nowadays. There's just not a lot of superstars in college, and
especially nowadays.
And that Duke team was just it was a travesty that they didn't win a national championship nor make a Final Four, but that's a topic for a different day. But
you an RJ guy?
You know, I like RJ. I think he's still coming into his own a little bit, and I think he just needs to keep developing from a shooting perspective, and just kind of just have better percentages. And I mean, the biggest thing was for him when I watched him at Duke is he struggled tremendously from the free throw line. So he's definitely gotten a little better there. And then there was times he would just force up threes, which I think I still see from now and again when he
sometimes
plays for the Knicks. But I think he's developing into a nice little player, and I think he'll ultimately be a guy you guys can build around.
Yeah, I think with him, since the new year turned, like the calendar year, he's averaging like 24 a game or something like that. Like he's really playing well. He's out now, thanks Tibbs. But he's strong in the paint, which is good to see. He's still like he's still got to develop, but he's not John Morant. It's okay. Yeah. You don't have to be John Morant to be successful in this league.
Yeah.
But he's a really good defender as well. He's long. He's good in transition. So he's one of my favorite players. I don't really have a favorite basketball player. Melo was, but I don't really watch him anymore. So
yeah.
But yeah, I was asking if because Duke. That's probably why you brought up Cam Reddish beforehand as well, like before the pod.
Yeah, RJ, I think can also be that guy that like he's going to be able to be a playmaker, whether that be in the pick and roll or just on the break or when he has the ball in his hands, and I think he can develop into that guy. I just think oftentimes nowadays I feel like everyone's trying to rush it. It's like, why isn't this a guy a star right now? And it's like, he's only in his second year.
He's
And I
21
just
years
think,
old.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and you know what, like the average prime for guys, I mean, once you hit 20, like about 25 years old, like that's your prime. But like these guys are coming into the league at 18, 19 years old, and we want everything now. But these guys got to develop. And I mean, I understand the NBA's obviously the narrative is the whole like, what are you done for me now versus like, what are you going to do for me in a couple of years? But going back to the whole Zion thing, I mean, it's a shame to see what's necessarily going on. And I don't really know. And they've kept it a lot of the stuff under wraps, and I'm sure it's going to come out eventually. I actually read something, or I think saw something today that they're doing everything within their power to keep that situation like from coming out, because there's definitely something we don't know. And he's put on a lot of weight, and he's going to continue to do that with not being able to do anything because of his foot. And like, I mean, he's just going to become, and I hate to say it, but it seems like he's on the path that he's going to become a bust. And I really don't want to see that happen, because when he's been able to play, I mean, a guy that's 6'7" and 250, I've never seen a guy be able to glide through the air the way he was doing, and he was just physically dominating people. But I hope he can figure it out. I hope the Pelicans can figure it out. But he's got to lay off the gumbo or whatever they got going on down in New Orleans.
Rob, did you see the text I sent you yesterday or Monday or Wednesday? Today's Friday. Today's Thursday. I have my days mixed up.
Thursday.
So I think it was Tuesday.
Talked about him.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Grant Williams, and I said, didn't he used to be in the Tub Club with Zion?
Yeah, he lost weight this year. But, like, yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I mean, a lot of people are putting a lot of blame on, like, the Pelicans front office and staff for not taking accountability and not speaking up to him because of, you know, his physical situation and his weight or whatever. You know, he is going to be special once he gets past this durability issue. Hopefully it doesn't become a skill for him. But, like, we saw, whether it be in New Orleans or not, we saw glimpses of it last year. He put up like nearly 27, shot like 60. He was historic. He was breaking like Shaq's records and stuff like that. And he was having like consecutive games of like 20, 25 plus points, really just breaking records. And, you know, speaking of David Griffin and the Pelicans, I have to ask your opinion on something. So in my dynasty league, it hasn't gone well with, I'm sure you've seen CJ been balling his first few games in New Orleans, but I traded CJ for LeVert, Darius Baisley, and a 2024 first. What's your opinion on that? With Corey Wilson, by the way. I don't know if you're friends with him.
No, yeah. So Corey's actually in my fantasy basketball league too, so that's kind of funny. But so, I mean, I like it. I think at the end of the day, I mean, Baisley's still really young. You got a pick out of it.
Been good lately.
Yeah, and Baisley also, in terms of a fantasy perspective, I mean, that team's not really going to go anywhere, and it's just they're giving them opportunity to just obviously play 30-so minutes a night and be able to just fill up the sheet. And then Karras, obviously, another young guy who I think it's going to be with Cleveland roughly 15 points per game type of guy, and also be able to do other things. So I like the deal. At the end of the day, you know, with Dynasty, it's all just kind of you're trying to get young assets, and especially in the NBA. And I mean, if that pick works out for you, I mean, then you really won the deal. But it'll be interesting to kind of see from the Pelicans' perspective what they kind of do in the offseason, and if they get the Zion situation figured out, and what's McCollum really gonna like? What's he gonna truly be for them? And I really wanted to see CJ go to a contender.
Yeah,
and I mean, the Pelicans have all the tools. It's just a matter of everything coming together. And I like their roster coming into the year, but it's just been just just a lot of dominoes falling, not going their way, and a lot of injuries and a lot of drama going on, obviously with the Zion situation. But I mean, I do think their roster has some potential, but we'll see kind of how it turns out.
Yeah, and like my biggest thing doing the trade was like, Karras, about 3 years younger, more room to grow. Perfect home for him, like at full potential. He's the third, maybe second option. Once he gets in the starting lineup, maybe past the All-Star break, it's a stellar backcourt. And when I was listening to the Draymond pod, they were saying, barring Colin doesn't get dealt, because you've heard the rumors before this season.
I have a take on that, by the way, if we can get into that.
All right, but barring he doesn't get dealt, they were talking maybe he'd be the sixth man, which would be awesome. And I just feel like Karras fills the sheet more. And I'll take the draft pick too. Norm Powell, Lonzo, and who else? Draymond went down for me, so I could use more depth. And I've been giving out picks like candy. I gave my first this year out for Kelly Oubre to add more of a punch as well.
Look what the Rams did. They traded every pick in the book, and they just won the Super Bowl.
F them picks.
Yeah, that was a cool shirt. It's too bad it's literally worked once. So, but it worked for him. So now they're all getting drunk in Disney World.
Yeah, you got people falling off the stage. Aaron Donald running.
Did you see that?
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I actually saw something on Twitter. I think
he paid for Go on. I think you were gonna say the exact same thing I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, I think Matt Stafford and his wife were like gonna pay for the woman's like medical bills and all that stuff. But
did you see what he did though, Stafford? The video, he was like done. He was blacked out and he just walked away. I'm like, this guy just fell off a stage.
And then the wife is sitting there and she's like, I'm like, oh my god.
She fractured her spine, but I think she's gonna be all right.
Yeah. So that's good.
So you can go on your little Sexton rant, because I was going to ask like what you think about LeVert's fit and like his ceiling with Cleveland and such, but you can touch on that now.
I've obviously watched plenty of Cleveland games over the past couple years, and when we first drafted Colin, I said this guy's a dog. Like, this guy's got the it factor that kind of you're looking for. But just kind of as it's gone on, I personally feel and we drafted Garland the next year, I think Garland's been everything that we wanted Colin Sexton to be. And I think oftentimes when Colin's been on the floor, he gets a little bit of tunnel vision, and he's always looking to score, and it's kind of at a cost for the team. So personally, I would like to see us move Colin, but for a good asset, because I think the way our roster is built right now, and also truth be told, while he could be a guy off the bench in the playoffs, I just don't know if you necessarily mess with what you got going on at this point, because we're playing so well, the roster's coming together nicely, we're just going to get better as the year continues to go on. It's just to throw him in there in the playoffs, knowing what he's looking to do, and he's going to look to score, and it could cost us. So I like Colin. I like him as a player, but I just think that his days in Cleveland may be numbered, and I would like to see them get some valuable, whether they turn it into a pick or they turn it into another valuable player that sort of fits. I think it's time. But if they do end up obviously having him come back and coming into the fold, I mean, I'll be interested to see how it works. And I mean, they could give it a shot, but I don't know. I just don't really see it.
I'll give you Fournier in it first. Who says no?
Oh gosh. I mean, we could use another shooter, but I don't know about Evan Fournier. Said he's been good. Said Cedi Osman's been solid in terms
Yeah,
of
he does his job.
Yeah.
Should we get into the Knicks now?
Oh, we can. I mean, we could talk about the Knicks all night.
Not in a good way.
Not a good way, no.
Well,
What's up, Rob?
about Sexton, I was gonna say, their biggest thing was like, we want you guys. I'm sure you've read and have seen in the past. They were like, we want you guys to be the next Dame and CJ. That was their thing. And Darius' relationship with him, they're close friends.
Yeah, they're close.
And you saw like the rumors last season about like teams saying like, oh, he won't pass the ball, like he's gonna be shot happy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had two last things for you. When I knew Durant was out of the All-Star game, Rich is gonna laugh at this. I was like, all right, knowing how, despite as of late, and we are 0-1 since then, sadly, the media usually, as you know, isn't really a fan of the Boston Celtics. So I was like, all right, Durant gets out. Jalen deserves it, but I won't be surprised if it's LaMelo. It probably will be. It was LaMelo. James gets out, or is ruled out, and the rumor, or right away I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be Jared Allen because he deserves it. And the Cavs deserve it, and it's in Cleveland. Jalen does, but not a doubt in my mind that it was going to happen. So what do you think about that? Like the fact that it's, a year after the Harden trade and Allen's instantly an all-star, deservingly so. I thought he deserved it. And I was just going to ask your favorite player in the league that's not a Cavalier.
So when that announcement was made and I had this conversation with one of my buddies, I said I thought Jaylen Brown should have got in. And I think it just ended up being – Jared Allen's played at an all-star level all year. But I thought ultimately I thought Jaylen Brown was going to sneak in over him. But, to see Jared Allen make it, it's just kind of another sense of recognition that this Cleveland team is going to get for what they're doing, where necessarily there's not a lot of media coverage. You don't see people just pounding the table for the Cavs on ESPN or Bleacher Report or any of that those sort of outlets, and to just kind of be able to see our two guys that have kind of held it together all year and been like our most valuable assets, to be able to see them get recognized is cool. And I was looking at this before the pod. I just think it's so ironic that both of the Cavs end up on the team with LeBron. I just kind of got a laugh out of that, and I was just like, of course.
And he was Darius too. He definitely didn't want to trade Darius to Kevin.
Yeah, and but my favorite player that is not a Cavalier is actually Jason Tatum. And
yes, I was going to ask you later what you think about his growth.
Jason Tatum see his development from coming out of high school to at Duke to where it is now. He's just made significantly huge jumps, and I love his game. His scoring ability. I think he can truly be a top 5 player in this league. I think his ceiling is incredibly high. But it'll just be a matter of, what the Celtics do in terms of putting that team together and the pieces they put around them, around him and Jalen. But I love to watch Jason Tatum, and just to see him in clutch moments. And I even have a Tatum jersey, but a Celtics jersey. But I love to watch him. I love his game, and I just kind of love everything he brings to the table.
What did you think when – well, this is Celtics fans, everyone, NBA fans, Duke fans. When he threw it down on LeBron, that's when everyone was like, okay, this kid's the real deal.
Yeah, and that was the I'm here, like
it's the chest pump. Yeah,
that was. I remember LeBron's look, and he's like, "Is this guy serious?" Like, but that to see him just kind of shine in those moments, and I believe also the one game against the Clippers with the little cross in the mid range jumper, like to win the game, or I don't know, it was win the
On
tie
George,
game.
yeah, to
Yeah.
send it to overtime.
Yeah, like just those little moments, and like even like some of his games in the bubble, like I love to watch him play, and I think like him and Jalen are going to be a dangerous combination for the next couple of years, and I hope they give them a chance to let them win together, because ultimately I think there's been this narrative portrayed sort of over the past year is that they can't play together. And I think sometimes like if you look at the box score, you may like be like, all right, maybe it's true, because I remember early on it was Jalen would play well, Tatum would struggle. Tatum would play well, Jalen would struggle. But I think it's ultimately just about the surrounding pieces and just being able to just kind of put that all together and give him a chance to make a run.
Yeah,
I say it all the time to Rob. The word I use to describe Jason Tatum is special. And I know if we weren't on camera, Rob would have jumped out of your seat when you said Jason Tatum. And Rob, what was your reaction on that Tatum dunk? Because I remember when R.J. Barrett dunked over either Kevin Huerter or Boyan Bogdanovic in the playoffs last year, I like flipped out, and I don't think the Hawks would like me for how I reacted. But yeah, but just I was just thinking about that when you said dunk on LeBron.
well, as Nick knows, how we didn't win that series, I have no idea.
LeBron.
And like, yeah, it's just that's what Tatum said after the dunk too. He was like, "Yeah, I had to get him back for those threes he hit in my face the game before in Cleveland." And the only player that was consistent that whole second half was him. Like in the first half, Rozier didn't shoot well from three the whole game. Brown didn't. Horford was good in the first half. Even Marcus, and it's just they both disappeared come the end, and it was just Tatum carrying them. And then he has the dunk, and then that step back three. When he threw it down, I jumped. I was actually at my aunt's house, and I left in silence after the game. Stat loss still stings,
Yeah.
but it's like, man, the way he's grown since then. He had the second sophomore season where Kyrie kind of, not just him, but the rest of the roster, kind of their development took a pause.
Yeah, but I think that ultimately is just what you unfortunately get at this point with Kyrie.
Yeah, and if anything was good out of it, was like he was a good mentor for him. They still talk. They're still good friends.
Yeah.
The Blue Devil Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And it's just the way and now he's, like you said, that narrative with the Jays has been put to rest basically with the way Boston's been this past month. And then you see Tatum's playmaking getting good. Like he's getting 6+ assist games, same with Brown, and they're both having monster games together. And it's just, they both can run point guard. It is about how you build the roster around them to see if they're going to win together. Robert Williams is tremendous. Marcus Smart's been calm with them, played well. Derek White.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they make a big splash this free agency. I've been saying to Rich, Beal would be cool considering he's Tatum's boy or someone else. And
Yeah.
I just think ultimately, I mean, the way Tatum has kind of developed, and as well as Jalen, is they're just going to be able to draw double teams, and it's just imagine to be able to make those plays for other people. That's going to kind of get them over the hump. And I think I've kind of pounded the table for the Celtics to just kind of make a move for a good big. Like I thought Miles Turner would have potentially been like a good fit there.
I don't know how you do that for Hayward.
Yeah, or even going back to when AD was a free agent, I thought there was a chance, and I thought that would have been a really good fit. And I think like Robert Williams has been awesome. I mean, his
Time
development.
Lord.
But I think if you guys got a good big, and then obviously if you we're able to acquire Beal. I mean, who knows what his situation is going to end up be like. But going back to just Jason Tatum, I mean, early on you saw that he wasn't scared of the moment, no matter how big it was, and that comes from playing at Duke. That comes from getting that playoff experience early on. And ultimately, like I've seen games where he's missed big shots, and I'm sure you have as well, Rob. But like he's never going to be scared to take them. And I mean, that's what you need. I mean, he's a killer, and I'm excited to see him continue to develop.
And I'm sure it's like from day one, and you've probably heard me say it. I'm like, dude, you see Kobe in all of his moves.
Yep.
The turnaround, the step back, and then you add the muscle. Coming into the season, I've said to Rich a million times, the biggest thing was like he's got to take it to the rim more, and he has. You see the muscle, you see just his length, his ability to finish, and just he's really just unguardable. He as a rookie, he was just one of the top 3-point percentage guys in the league, and it's just like since day one, he's had no holes. He's been a tremendous rebounder, and you just see a lot of Mamba, and I don't know if you guys saw – I don't think we talked about it, Rich. I don't know if you guys saw the other day. I put it on my story and tweeted it. I love the Coach K video of him talking to the team.
You sent it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At BC over the weekend when he was saying how he talked to Brad and Danny, and he was like, they wanted to talk to me about him. I said, well, he's the best player. It's just like if he could be coached hard, that's going to be great for your franchise. And it's just, as a Celtic fan, it's just grateful is an understatement. It's just, he's going to be 24 like the first week of March. And it's just, man, he is just the ultimate package.
Time yet. As we talked about before.
I'll say that's what you're saying before. Yeah.
Like,
ultimate
and
package.
that's what's crazy. See these guys, like, and it's starting to like the quote unquote prime is going to continue to dwindle to like younger years. Like people are going to start being like, all right, you're 23. Like you got to, but that's just not the reality of it. That's not how it is for everyone. But to see him doing what he's doing at 23, basically 24 years old, I mean, is unbelievable. And I think the league ultimately, from a star perspective, I think is in great hands, regardless of when LeBron and KD eventually call it quits.
Yeah, and the crisp handle is another thing. You know, I meant to mention him and Jalen really, but all right, I believe it is Knicks rant time for Rich.
Pour one out.
It's his face again. Yes.
Oh, do I have anything in here that I can just like chug? I got nothing alcoholic in here.
How about Andre Drummond before he got sat in the second half?
Well, he's what do you call it? I was expecting that because he's always like a frustrating play. So I don't even get frustrated anymore because he's super like talented in that sense. But that's about it. Like pick and roll, he can't do it all.
Just good on the glass.
Yeah.
But to the Knicks, I can't even pour it out because it's empty. But
poured it out too many times. That's why.
Poured it down my throat too many times. I wasn't surprised yesterday because they did it. I was out on Saturday night, Olive Garden, underrated place. I was there with my girlfriend for Valentine's Day because Monday I had class. Well, I was supposed to at least, but that's a different story. And what do you call it? And I'm watching the Portland game, like they're up 20, and I'm like, all right, like Portland's in a rebuild now. Like we got this in the bag. Grano's playing well, the ball is moving. I'm sitting down, and I get another like close game. I'm like, what do you mean close game? And then the Lakers, I wasn't really surprised just because Malik Monk got extremely hot. So like that can happen every once in a while, but that can't happen 3 times in 1 week. They also blew a lead to the Jazz. and they blew it to the Thunder.
Lakers too. I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Laker game in LA.
Yeah, that was the point I was making.
Yeah.
But my thought on the Knicks, my rant. I'm not gonna scream like Stephen A. I just think that's way too annoying. It's like,
That was fun. Man.
It was fun. I was laughing too.
I wrote, Knicks are a disgrace.
Yeah, well,
that's
I mean,
line.
I hate blaming coaching because I'm a believer in the players have to play. But in the Knicks case, the wrong players are playing. I don't care what you've seen in practice. I really don't. You play to win the games. You don't play to practice hard. Like, as well,
Yeah.
It was so obvious in the second half yesterday that the starting unit outside of Randall was struggling, as they do every game. So, put in quickly, who had his best game in about 2 months. Toppin played well. Cam Reddish was kind of just standing there. And then you have Randall. So, like, why are we messing around with, like, Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker? Quentin Grimes, like, should get more playing time. He plays well. Why are we messing around with these guys when they're literally, it's very obvious they're not playing well. And, like, I say this all the time, if you thought the Knicks were going to the finals this year, you don't watch basketball. And so they made the point yesterday, like, they took a gamble, like, trying to get offense, like, getting rid of Bullock and Alfred Payton, I guess. But, like, why is Alec Burks playing 35 minutes a night? Like, it's like I was texting Rob yesterday. I actually said go Cavs because of Cleveland.
Yeah.
What do you call it? But back to the Knicks. In the first half, Randall, like, his new thing is get the ball and, like, just do a 40-yard dash down the court. But it works. Yeah. He gets the ball in action and rhythm, and he's playing some of the best basketball I've seen in a while from him. I said that last week too, so it's continuing. He's almost back up to 20 points a game. He's over 10 rebounds. He's over 5 assists. You should be all right with that, especially when your second scorer in RJ is averaging 18 and he's only getting better when it comes to scoring. And in the second half of games, they're walking the ball up. It's a post. Alec Burks is isolating. Alec Burks, there's a reason why he's been on 6 teams in 6 years, and I like Alec Burks. And I give him credit for trying to adjust his role because he's not a point guard. But last night, I wasn't even mad. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. No, I'm not mad. It's just like it's so obvious what the problem is, and they refuse to fix it. Like Tibbs said after the game last night, everything's open. Now everything's open. When you dropped 3 games and you led by 20, and last night they didn't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. I'm not calling Ben Simmons a star, but Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving don't play. And Grant, I saw a Knicks fan saying, like, Cam Thomas, like, that was gotta give it to him. It was a good shot. They were up 28. There wasn't 15 good shots.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that last shot was a dagger. Like, that was like an impressive shot. But getting to that point was cuts to the lane, open layups, turnovers, open threes. You give Patty Mills and Seth Curry enough open threes, they're going to hit a couple of them. And all it takes is a little bit. And I think also, off the Knicks a little bit, it kind of shows how the NBA is nowadays that, like, you could be up 20 and it feels like you're up 6.
So, that's funny that you said that. I was having that conversation with one of my buddies today. Like, it feels like you go up 25 in an NBA
feel comfortable
game, and it's not like you said, it's not comfortable because, and like I don't know if it's like more of a regular season thing or what it is. Like
3-pointer,
it feels like for example, you go up big in the first or second quarter, and then all of a sudden, like it's just like that. It's just such a big game of runs. Like, and I know that's like the saying for basketball, but in the NBA, especially during the regular season, like no leads is safe because you could pop off a 20-5 run, and the next thing that's coming the direct opposite way. And I think it's just been crazy, especially over the last like year, the amount of teams that have blown 20-plus point leads and ended up losing.
It's every team too.
We saw with Boston the whole first half.
Yeah, and with the like every like fan likes to say like, oh, how come my team can't do that? But no, I've seen the Knicks do that. Like last Monday, the Knicks were playing the Jazz in a game I did not expect to win. They were down 12. I got home Like, I parked my car. They were down 12 when I parked my car. When I got inside, they were winning.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's 40 seconds.
And the Cavs the other night when I think it was Halliburton's first game. Like we were down 18.
They did that a couple games in a row.
Yeah, and we somehow fought our way back into it and ended up winning the game. But it's just like no lead's ever safe.
And I think it kind of started with Golden State, and like the whole joke was that they could be down 30 in the third quarter and come back. And I think the 3-pointers got something to do with that. Like, everyone's shooting threes, and like they were talking about last night, Jeff Van Gundy, who made the point, like the law of averages, like the Knicks are going to come back down to earth, and the Nets are going to start hitting shots.
Yeah,
not at that rate, but and like think about it, if you're down 20, you hit 2 threes, now you're down 14. They score 2, then you hit another 3, you're down 13 now. Yeah. Then you get a steal, you're down 11. And all of a sudden, 11 is not insurmountable anymore because now you hit another 3, you're down 8. Now we're just doing basic math at this point. And and that can be like in a 3-4 minute span, the way these guys shoot threes. And you just got to get hot for literally a minute just to make it a game again. And then once you get close, then you're in the game. Then you're in the flow of the game again.
Yeah, and when you're up 25, you're like, all right, like the
just
mindset,
hold it, please.
Like you're like, okay, like let's just finish out the game, you know. Then it's like lead gets cut to 20. It's like, okay, we're still fine, like whatever. Then the lead trickles down to between 13 and 14. You're like, we're good, but I
takes
mean,
a couple threes and just.
And the next thing you know, you're only up 5, and then that like even between the like 10 and 8 range, like you start sweating a little bit, and then it's just like next thing you know, you're down. Like it's just been a crazy aspect of the NBA over the past year.
Especially like if it's the second or third quarter, it's like blink of an eye. You got plenty of time. It's a whole new game. Especially like you guys said, 11. That's not like that's within range. 14, like anything below 20, really, no team's afraid of nowadays.
Yeah, and like in comparison, like you're up 11 in high school or college, and more times or not, you consider that like a pretty comfortable lead. But
my high school team was never up 11.
Neither was mine.
But Rashai is sitting here like 25 points. Try winning by 47 or 48.
Yeah, that was.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely super happy. I didn't expect it, but
not that.
Yeah.
It's like not even a blowout, but I was gonna. What was it?
You texted me before the game, like gonna be a tough one without Robert Williams. Then they win by 48 points.
Yeah, and we talked like about it being hard for coaches to find minutes for some of these guys. There's stuff happening really just behind the scenes. Like the whole thing, Nick, I was kind of happy. I mean, we've seen more glimpses out of Romeo Langford as a defender, as like well improved. Not the way Grant Williams has this year, but we've seen some glimpses. He still isn't that much of a scorer, but like I was saying, there was a rumor that with Schroeder, Nesmith could have gone instead of Langford. I mean, 2 separate deals, but they were saying to get out of the luxury tax that Nesmith would be the one.
Potato.
Yeah, and I was like, I think it should be Langford because he has more value. And as you know, like going into the pros, people were like, oh, like Nesmith could be like a Tyler Hero the way he could shoot. And people outside of the Celtics, even Celtics fans, are like, why doesn't he get more minutes? He hustles on defense. His energy, he brings all of it. Just purely explosive. And he has the elite 3-point stroke like we saw at Vanderbilt. But he kind of had the Carson Edwards effect to where, like, they weren't falling. Mm-hmm. And for him to basically finally get a good game in Philly, even when it was like within range in the first half, he was knocking them down. He had 18 points, career high, I believe. Yeah. But I'm happy he's finally getting good run.
Yeah, that was well needed.
Yeah, with, you know, the moves we've made. And we know what he does on the defensive end. And it's just he should be playing. Like, same with – that's what we were saying with Pritchard. And he's getting his minutes now. And Yeah, it's really just what I like about Boston. I've said this last week on the pod is like Ime should be coaching like this, like making Jalen and Jason playmakers for them to be, making those around him better. Derek White's a good complementary fit, and they have. I was saying this to Rich last week. They have experience from San Antonio, as you know, not just Ime and Derek, but Will Hardy, the assistant, was there, and then the relationship formed in the USA Select camp with Marcus, Jalen, and Jason, and then Ime, Will, and Derek. And that's how it all started. And Ime learned from the best, Pop, the two division rival teams, Philly, Brooklyn. So, like, that's why I knew it wasn't a bad hire in the first place, besides knowing that Jalen and Jason wanted him. And we obviously would do whatever Jason wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just last night was a tough one, but our first game out of the break is Brooklyn again in Brooklyn, so hopefully we can just regain momentum. Looking to be 10-plus games over 500, and if Tatum can continue to carry them the way he has, they really. I agree with Perk. There's not really much of a ceiling besides those three elite teams: Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee, and yeah, Boston has experience, but it's like. Yeah, I'm excited the way this train's going. What do you think of Neesmith? How did you like him coming out of Vandy?
Neesmith, I thought was going to definitely be a valuable guy to be able to just as a shooter and just kind of his sort of like length. At the end of the day, the NBA, it's like a lot of guys thrive off of the ability to shoot the three and that their length and that there's promise there that they're going to be able to kind of develop into at least an average wing defender. And the way just kind of obviously the three is used in today's NBA, I mean, his stroke from a mechanical perspective, like, is solid. Like,
Smooth,
it's smooth. There was a lot of like promise there, and I kind of questioned why he wasn't getting minutes early on because I thought he could have been used, and I thought you guys needed shooting off the bench. So it's good to kind of see him starting to get some burn. In terms of like going back to the Romeo Langford, I thought. I never knew what to kind of think of him. I didn't know what he was going to be. I didn't know how his turnout was going to be. But like there was a certain ceiling there that definitely provided some value to be able to kind of move him. But glad to see Neesmith finally getting some minutes. And I think just the reality of the NBA is like there's a lot of talented guys that don't get a lot of minutes, and there's almost like a over excess of talent in the NBA right now to the point where I think you could potentially get away with an expansion team if you really wanted to. And I think that roster wouldn't necessarily be terrible. I think they would be competitive.
What you're telling me is that Evan Fournier will be playing for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Or the second coming of the Supersonics, hopefully one day.
The Montreal – I was going to say Montreal Americans, but that's kind of like an oxymoron.
Evan Fournier, what a guy.
Rob, you wanna? What's up?
What were you gonna say?
I would say, do you want to finish off with the sleepers?
Yeah, and I guess one more thing on the Cavs. Are you excited for Rondo in the playoffs? I mean, he looks at Mobley, and I'm sure the rest of the NBA, and you do as well. Mobley's a big Garnett guy. Like, he looks up to him. He kind of plays like him. He doesn't have like the mid-range stroke that he had early.
That will come. I think that will come over time. I think when I look at Mobley, and obviously this is very high praise, it's like I immediately get Tim Duncan, Garnett vibes from his game, his play style. Obviously, those are big shoes to fill in terms of those comparisons, but I think like he's got that ceiling. And I mean, like, he's been okay in terms of shooting it from the outside, and just kind of his jumper is coming along a little bit, and I think that will obviously grow throughout the numerous off seasons that he'll have. But it's good to have Rondo especially, and also Kevin Love in terms of what they bring from a leadership perspective, and they kind of feel like coaches on the court. They're kind of putting guys in the right places, giving them the tools they need to succeed, and just being able to kind of talk that out with them on the court. And I think that's going to play a big difference when it comes in the playoffs. And it just comes down to, or going back to the whole balance of our roster. I think the Cavs are deep. I think they have good vets that actually play meaningful minutes that are going to help down the stretch, and that has sort of been there. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. And the East is just from 1 to basically 8, like even arguably 10. Like it's just super competitive.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be like potentially if the standings were to stay where they are, like there's potential like the Bulls could see like the Raptors. Not like the Raptors are no easy out. Like Gary Trent's been playing out of his mind. Pascal's been, ever since he came back from injury, he's been on a tear. Fred VanVleet's an all-star.
Champion category.
Yeah, Nick Nurse, like
favorite coach. My favorite coach in the league. I've said it to Rich. I love him. Since
Scotty
the bubble.
Barnes, the bubble. Yeah, Scotty Barnes has been a good rookie, and I think will develop into a great player. Like they've got some dudes, but like the East, like it's kind of crazy to see how it went from the West being like hands down, like the champion's always going to come for the West. The West is so much more competitive, so much better, whatever. To kind of see that turn into now it's in the East's favor. To see that development's been interesting. Like personally, I think out of the West, like there's 2 teams in my mind, and like like we can make the argument that maybe the Jazz could give someone a run or whatever, but I think it's either going to be Phoenix or Golden State. I think trying to beat one of those teams in 7 games, unless they're playing each other, is nearly impossible. Especially with the Warriors once Draymond's back, depending on what Wiseman's deal is, and just kind of like the development just kind of, I mean, also they've been there. Like Steve Kerr's been there, Curry's been there, Thompson's been there, Draymond. Like when you ain't gonna want to play them in 7 games. And Phoenix is also proving this year that last year was no fluke. I think come playoff time, when I'll be interested to see how the Bulls do in a playoff series, because I think especially what's been kind of the cloud hanging over DeMar's shoulder is, you can play well in the regular season and your team can perform well, but when push comes to shove and you're in a game 7, like, are you going to be able to get it done? And is Billy Donovan going to be able to get it done? And are they going to be able to get it done? I think the most dangerous team, I was looking at it today, just trying to prepare a little bit. Like Philly's going to be dangerous in terms of if Harden stays healthy, trying to defend Harden and Joel Embiid in a ball screen is going to be practically impossible. But the Miami Heat has not been healthy the entirety of the year. Someone's always been injured. I think they have the depth. I think they have the guys that have sort of been there before.
Great veteran, great coach.
And I think like Jimmy Butler is going to obviously always show up. Kyle Lowry's got the championship pedigree now. Bam is Bam. Tyler Hero's been playing well all year. And you add PJ Tucker into the mix, and PJ Tucker is still one of the best defenders in the league. Like the matchup with that team when in a 7-game series is going to be tough. So I'm excited for the playoffs once we get there, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I agree with Miami as well. They're definitely – I have a couple sleeper teams, especially with them. It's like the undrafted guys too. It's like Strus and Gabe Vincent. Like they could light you up from the outside.
Even I don't know. It's one of the twins. It's Caleb or Caleb Martin was even playing
Cody.
well. Or Cody Martin.
I don't know which one it is.
Caleb. Yeah, one of them. But there was a stretch where just dudes were in and out of the lineup every day, and that dude was putting up 20 a game, and it's Spo is done. He's just probably the top five coach. He's done he always does a good job, and he's going to work with what he's got, and he's going to just kind of be able to produce. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I like them. Philadelphia, of course, them in the pick and roll. If they could stay healthy, they don't have much depth now, but they're going to live at the line. They're going to be one of the best duos we've ever seen, maybe. And they're going to be scary. Brooklyn could be a sleeper fully healthy. Ben comes back, maybe Kyrie full time. Toronto have been one of my favorite teams all year. Boston, if they could keep it up, the Jays continue this. Rob continues this. Marcus, Derek White's been a great fit. Just continue to grow. They got experience. Like we said, Ime's been awesome. With Cleveland, with your guys, they're definitely one of them. We talk about the Mobley development of a jumper. That's what I say to Rich about the Time Lord all the time. And it'll definitely get there. It's just, like with Rob, it's like I say to Rich all the time, he gets steals, assists, as you know, block machine. Mobley's 8th in blocks.
Yep.
And he's got the right guys around him to do it. It's like nothing like a happy Rondo. He's been praising his time there so much so far, the coaching staff, JB, all of it. And yeah, Rich, who are your sleepers?
So in the East, I would say Cleveland, but we've talked about them so much, and I feel like they are getting kind of the love. And I think they're going to be where I expect them to be. Like, they might win a series, but I don't know if they have the maturity outside of Kevin Love and Rondo to advance further than that. But if they continue this next year, they could definitely get there in the very near future. And I think Nick would agree with me on that one.
I think we're a year away from being like this is our coming out party in a sense. This is you're the Knicks of this year. Yeah. And we're here, we are developing, we're gonna give you a run for your money. It ain't going to be easy, but we'll win maybe a series. And also it's going to depend on matchups. If it's it really honestly depends who we get matched up with. If we stay at the 4 seed, probably would end up playing not exactly sure. I think be Atlanta and
Atlanta's 10th.
I don't know. Atlanta's 10th. But it will depend on who we get matched up with and just kind of how they kind of handle adversity. And that would be tough. You got two really good, we got matched up with the Celtics. You got two really good wing scorers that are just going to get buckets all night long. And how are we going to guard that? Just kind of, it'll be the playoff atmosphere and in terms of the guys that haven't been there before. How are they going to be able to handle that? Necessarily, we don't know. We can expect that. Potentially it might not go well, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So my true sleeper team for the East would be Toronto, just because they're in the playing game right now. But at the same time, I feel like they could beat anyone. Yeah. Because they have they're built they're like the Cavs on steroids. They have 5 to 7 guys that you can be all right, that guy could be a number 2 or number 3 scorer on their team. And Fred VanVleet has turned into that guy. Him and Siakam and Scotty Barnes getting better. I like Anunoby. They're turning into those guys. What's up?
I was just going to say, Pascal's proved everyone wrong.
But Gary
They're
Trent,
just a big way. Oh, he's been awesome. If they had Miles Turner, it'd be terrific.
Yeah. And then for the West, it's going to take you by surprise a little bit. Do I think they're going to win the West? No. I don't think they have the talent to. Also, this Phoenix can go head over heels them. My sleeper team in the West is Dallas. I was looking at I've been looking at I'm following this game. There's 9:27 left in the third quarter. Luka has 27, 8, and 5. They just started the second half. And the point that I would make, I know losing Porzingis, trading Porzingis, but they are second in points allowed this year to the Cavs. Their problem has always been their defense. They've always been a bad defensive team. Jason Kidd comes around, all of a sudden Jalen Brunson is starting. Hey, maybe this guy is a baller. And I think he can be that number 2 option to win 1 or maybe even 2 series, depending on who they play. Because I would take they can beat Utah, maybe not Utah, but they could beat Denver, especially without Jamal Murray. And I think that Luka is just like at the point where he's just ready to. He's gonna win a series at some point, and when hopefully Tim Hardaway comes back healthy, Dorian Finney-Smith is pretty good. I think Davis Bertans is an X factor on that team, and I just think that Luka's dominance just will overtake it, especially if they can play defense well. So, are they going to win the West? No. Will they win a couple series? Maybe, depending on I think the only way they win a couple of series is that if they play, if Phoenix and Golden State have to play each other, because Memphis is the 3 seed right now. Dallas crushed Memphis, and I think that Memphis is kind of like the Cavs, in that sense, like they have like Morant, Cavs of Garland, they're young. Well, Luka's been there a couple times already. He's gone to 7 games in the playoffs. He hit that big shot in the bubble. And I think he's a top 7 at worst NBA player. And I think that they're getting overlooked just because of the fact that they're the Dallas Mavericks. They don't have Steph Curry, although they have Luka, which is a draw for some reason, but I guess maybe the market. But yeah, I just think my Toronto was pretty quick just because I think the East is wide open. You tell me the 1-10 will win, and I'll believe you. But
surprise me.
Yeah, but in the West, it's a little more clear cut with the Phoenix and the Suns, Phoenix and the Warriors. And I was looking at the Warriors are 6.5 out of the 2 spot. The Memphis is 8, meaning Memphis is a game and a half behind Golden State. So it's not incredibly difficult to see that Golden State has to play Phoenix in the second round. And that opens everything up. Because now a team like Dallas or Utah or Denver, or even if you want to include the Clippers, Lakers, New Orleans, probably not them, but you catch my drift. They're going to be advancing in rounds because they're going to be beating each other up rather than getting to the end and then playing each other. So, yeah. Long story short, Dallas.
Yeah. So just taking more of a look at it, and there's a couple big ifs with this sort of sleeper team, but in my mind, I think obviously Jokic is playing at a high level right now, regardless of who's on the court. But the 2 big X factors are, how is Jamal Murray going to be if and when he comes back? How is MPJ going to be if and when he comes back?
I think he's out for the year.
I was just reading that MPJ got reevaluated.
Yeah, they might come back. This was that I was going to say. I was thinking Denver might be my next one.
Because if they just kind of get through the year and they they give Jamal and MPJ enough time to find their way back into the lineup, you're playing that team as they'll probably end up being a 6, 7, or 8 seed. That's a tough match.
And that's Memphis.
Yeah, and they could, and they've been there before too. So we'll see kind of how that kind of turns out. I mean, there's big ifs with that one, but I think they can make some noise if healthy.
Mike Malone, as you know, great coach too, and they got guys like Monte Morris and Bones Highland playing well. And, yeah, Jokic just makes those around him better easily. And, yeah, I was going to say them. And then if I was to pick another one, I really like the Dallas pick, Rich. I do. They got shooters. Their defense has been better. And Luke is playing at an unreal level. Absolutely, this past month, per usual. It's about Bertans fits. As we've always said, it's about them getting another star. How's Dinwiddie doing in that game? You still got the line score up?
I think I said last week my brother despises him. My brother's a Wizards fan. He despises him. He played 13 minutes. What's up?
He's on my bench. I'm just looking for some improvement. That's all. I got it out of Schroeder last night. That's what I'm happy. I didn't like that look.
You want to hear this whopping stat? In 13 minutes of play, he's plus 5 point differential, which does nothing for your fantasy purposes. 3 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal.
What's he 1 for 6?
He's really filling the sheet.
He's 1 for 3.
He's been shooting bad all year, but
By the way, Lucas got 32, so he scored 5 points since we started this conversation.
But we with Luke, I said guys who are on fire. We've seen DeMar, man. If he could
just passed Wilt.
Yeah.
Was it seven games in a row, scoring 35 while shooting 50%?
Unreal.
I think whenever a stat like that happens, it makes everyone realize, damn, Will Chamberlain really did that.
Yeah.
Like he averaged 70 points a game for 5 games.
And to
70. That's
oh.
He played against plumbers though. And accountants.
I was just gonna say the reason why it never gets appreciated is because he's playing against guys that were literally bagging groceries.
Nothing against them, just you're not basketball players.
Yeah, and they're also there wasn't the athletes back then that there is today. It's just
no one was his height.
Yeah, no, he was just a freak. I think he would still he would play well in today's NBA, but people are always gonna knock. It's the same thing that people will knock Bill Russell for too. They'll be like, "Oh, those 11 championships were against people that were coming off the street." But still, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, that many championships, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's just if DeMar's experience and play can carry over to the postseason, they get Lonzo back, they get Caruso back. Vucevic has been on a tear, low-key himself, and even better than how he started the year. Hopefully Levine's knee's all right. Like you said, hopefully Billy Donovan can execute in the postseason. They could be a tough out as well. They're going to be interesting to see how they match up against, veteran teams. And
if they're playing like I said, if they see a Toronto first round, I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Or if they get past the first round, how they kind of play. They play a 7-game series against someone like Philly or Milwaukee or even the Nets. Honestly, if I'm the Nets, and if they're not gonna do anything with the whole mandate, at this point, you just somehow stay afloat and maybe even just lose some games and just keep yourself hovering without playing in the play-in game. But at that point, you're going to get more games with Kyrie. So we'll see how that kind of works out.
Yeah, the East playoffs are really going to be fun and tremendous to watch. I mean, they did just get a big addition, and Tristan Thompson, too, the Bulls.
The Pacers cut him.
Yeah.
But is that all we got for this week, Rob?
Yeah, those are all my sleepers. Nick, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I just want to say thank you for you guys to having me on. I mean, love to talk some NBA, and appreciate you guys. I like what you're doing. I think you guys are building a good product, so keep up the good work, boys.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. We'll have you on.
Thanks for coming on. Before we get out, just want to wish Rob, old man, turning 24 tomorrow.
Yeah.
When you guys come out, Rob will be 24.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Another year closer to health insurance. But happy birthday. You guys, everyone wish Rob a happy birthday. I was trying to find a song that didn't sound like we were 6, but I'm not going to do that to you. So, Nick, do you have any plugs for social media? I'm going to put your Twitter handle under this, by the way, so just so everyone can follow you, unless you don't have Twitter and you have.
I do have Twitter, so my Twitter is at nkozak32, and then my Instagram is at nkozak11.
Hey, everyone, you heard the man. Go follow him. Like his pictures,
Yeah.
Awesome.
DM him if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, if you want. We'll see.
Rob, you got any plugs for the week?
Nothing, man. I did my deadline grades in the beginning of the week. I was writing something on Marcus Smart, but I'm just taking my time with it since it's the All-Star break and it's my birthday tomorrow. But, yeah, tremendous episode. That's all we got for you guys tonight.
Yep.
Pod number 11. It's been a great one.
Like I said last week, guys, I will have a Matt Stafford article out to you soon. I'm just getting a lot of things in order right now. Football just ended, so I'm going to write a big piece on him. Besides that, you know the drill. Follow us on Instagram at the Sports Bible Pod, YouTube channel Sports Bible Podcast, Follow my TikTok at Richie Dortis. What else do I got? At RD Sports Blogs. That's my Instagram. Twitter, same thing. Sports Bible Pod. I'm just gonna run through the same thing every week, so you guys get the idea. But that's all I got. Rob, you want to kick us out of here?
What a beautiful episode. Great time talking hoops. I liked everything we talked about. Thank you, guys. Seriously, hell of an episode. We'll be back next week. Nick, we'll have you on in the playoffs.
Sounds good, boys. Appreciate y'all. Thanks.
See you guys later.
Guys, later.